Good afternoon and welcome to episode 93 of the Below the O Line podcast. I'm Joe. He is Danny. How's it going?
We're all good. How's it going, guys?
Yes, this podcast is not prime time like usual, but because today is game day for the College Football Playoff National Championship, which was about to be held tonight in Miami, Florida, I felt like it's no right for us to clash with that game, which of course is 8 p.m. We'll make our predictions. Who will win that game, Ohio State or the Alabama Crimson Tide? That's for later. But this is a motorsports show, so let's keep the motor in sports.
Right.
The off season for the majority of motorsports is coming to an end, believe it or not.
Yeah, come to think about it, motorsports has a really short off season, so we have to enjoy it while it lasts because a few events are right around the corner. Let's say, and those events include the Chili Bowl, which we're gonna get into in a few moments, and also Supercross.
Supercross. Yes, you're a fan of two-wheel racing. This is the week for you. They return to action on the 16th of January at Houston. So that's on the horizon of many racing fans. Unfortunately, that will be the first season in 14 years that Ralph Shaheen, the lead commentator for TV and the AMA Supercross, no more Ralph Shaheen. They parted ways. It's his commentary, I think, as someone who wants to be in that position in the future, I think is very fluid. Ralph Shaheen deserves credit. It's kind of sad that he won't be there in the future. He's like a staple of Supercross commentary. I don't follow too much about two-wheel racing, but when I do, it's a blast.
Oh man, Ralph Shaheen is one of those voices that when you hear it, you know you're in for a great time. You're in for a great event. His voice is just absolutely iconic, and I if you're watching this, Ralph Shaheen, I want to say congrats on a great career in Supercross commentary, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Yes, we wish Ralph Shaheen nothing but the best. And let's not forget about his time as a broadcaster in NASCAR, working for CBS, and as a fill-in commentator for networks like TNT, Speed Channel, and NBC. I recall the 2009 July race at Daytona, just a finish of the ages.
What a call for the ages, man. I would never forget it. Where Kyle Busch and Tony Stewart going head-to-head I wouldn't say head-to-head, but yeah, but Kyle Busch blocked Tony once and twice. He went straight into the wall. And Ralph Shaheen's commentary on that race was one to be for the ages. Let's just leave it at that.
Yep. The offseason continues in NASCAR. We now have less than a month before the clash begins at Daytona on the road course for the first time in the history of the pole shootout for Daytona. That race will be on the 9th of February. But in a month from today will be the 150-mile qualifying duels at Daytona that determine the field for the 500. And let's just say not everybody leaves that race happy. And usually about 5 or 6 cars will go home after that, as the 40-car grid for the Daytona 500 is set. That's for later, but for now, we have another event, one that is very coveted from an indoor arena in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Expo Center is host for the 34th annual Chili Bowl Nationals. What is the Chili Bowl? Why is it so important? Isn't it supposed to be another midget dirt track race? And I answer no. This is an all-star race.
Absolutely, it's an all-star race. You have names from the Cup Series like Stenhouse Jr. You have Cup drivers like Chase Elliott, which he's going to be participating this year. You also have Kyle Larson, who's won this race a few times.
Last year, his first time, he went over 13.
Yeah, it's the first time winning. So you also have Christopher Bell, who has also won that race. So
3 times.
Yeah, a 3-time winner. So look out for the major drivers that you would see in the race in the Chili Bowl Nationals are also come from dirt track racing in the Cup Series.
I'll give you an example. South Bend, Indiana's own Ryan Newman. He's also on that list. Ryan Newman grew up racing USAC. Let's throw another name, Brad Sweet, who was not successful on pavement, but was surely successful on dirt. The list goes on. We will detail that and highlight everything you need to know about the Chili Bowl Nationals this year. In fact, practice sessions are already underway. They began last night as the Expo Center was set for the dirt. Saturday night, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, 6 o'clock p.m. local time will be the main event, the big race itself, the 55-lap showdown that determines who wins the Chili Bowl. But let's go over some facts here. So, 1987, the late Rich Vogler won the inaugural Chili Bowl Nationals. Sadly, Vogler died of a racing accident just 3 years later in Salem. That was the birth of a tradition.
Yeah, and it really just began to, how would you say it, have a snowball effect in that time?
It's a major snowball effect.
Yeah.
As far as the winners list is concerned, look no further than the one and only family of Swindell. Sammy Swindell, 5 times a winner of the Chili Bowl from 1989, 1992, 96, 98, and 2009. The Swindell name won 5 times in a row from 2009 to 2013 thanks to Kevin Swindell. 4 wins in a row. It's just a major accomplishment because thinking about how many people that are entered in that event, we're talking 200, 300 plus people, 300 drivers that are on the entry list year in and year out. We have main events that go down the letter O. That's hardly ever present in dirt track racing.
Yeah, it's really. Yeah, so when you hear the name Swindell, you really think about those 5 wins and what that set that what does that set in Chili Bowl history?
Something special.
Absolutely.
Christopher Bell became the 3rd driver to have 3 or more wins, which were 3 out of the last 4 Chili Bowls won by Christopher Bell, 3 consecutive wins. Christopher Bell, the 2017 NASCAR Truck Series champion, who was known for his time in NASCAR. Let's not forget how he began racing on asphalt. After the impressive runs he had on dirt, it was enough to bring the attention of Joe Gibbs Racing and Kyle Busch to say, hey, let's pick you to drive our cars. How about Rico Abreu, Tony Stewart, Dan Borst, 2-time winners of this event? You want to be the best, you got to beat the best, but you also have to make it there. The journey is as important as the race itself. And why is that? Well, I will explain. As I mentioned just a few moments ago, the Chili Bowl Nationals has a very unique rule set. The rule book include multiple qualifying races that start and go out through the week. With that said, all the events have qualifying sessions and their own respective heats. Those heat races end up showing where the drivers will result and where they place into the next following races. Making the Chili Bowl Nationals is a very tall order. So Christopher Bell's 3 consecutive wins from 2017 to 2019 is no laughing matter. You can say that about Tony Stewart, 2002 and 2007, the 3-time NASCAR Cup Series champion, has a knack for dirt track racing. He's also responsible for Eldora Speedway to become the first NASCAR Touring Series event held on dirt since 1970, about 7 years ago. This is also an event that marks a beginning of a new year. People from all around the country and the globe fly into Tulsa, Oklahoma for this one event. It's very easy to sign up for this race, and once you do, you're just a step closer to glory. With that out of the way, the countdown is over. The first day of events begin in the Chili Bowl today. And the Monday qualifying night is set to begin in just a few hours. Last year's race, as Danny stepped out, I'll remind you from what happened almost 365 years ago. Kyle Larson, who undoubtedly accomplished everything a dirt track star could in his racing career, went 0 for 13 in the Chili Bowl Nationals. Found almost every way to not win the race, get passed on the last lap, or have an engine failure, or just spin out. Something that a driver would rarely make a mistake. It made the mistake. That was Kyle Larson. But last year, his luck went the right direction for the first time. And he won the race. But he had to beat Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell was close to becoming a 4-time winner himself in the Chili Bowl. Unfortunately, the Oklahoma native himself will have to wait just a little longer. Now, speaking of Oklahoma natives, Christopher Bell became the first driver from Oklahoma to win the Chili Bowl since Andy Hillenberg in 1994. And it shows that there is a lot of pride in winning this race. I will highlight 10 entries as Danny stepped out for who I believe will be a factor to win the Chili Bowl this year. I'll start with Ryan Newman. As I mentioned, Ryan Newman, of course, the Rocket Man himself, over 50 poles in his NASCAR career, 18 wins, a true inspiration. Recovering from a crash to the Daytona 500, nearly winning his second Great American Race, to nearly losing his life on the final lap. But there's more to Ryan Newman in his career. How about all the wins that Newman had in his time at USAC? What about Ryan Newman making strides and graduating from Purdue University? That was unheard of at the time. That, NASCAR drivers don't usually get college degrees and have a NASCAR career. It just doesn't seem to work like that. But Ryan Newman did otherwise and succeeded. He's never won a Chili Bowl, but maybe this could be the year. I said enough about Kyle Larson, so let's scroll down the list here as I'm just looking at the entry list. And of course, that name is Sammy Swindell. Sammy Swindell, 65 years old, 5-time winner, winningest driver in the race history as we speak. Justin Allgaier from Riverton, Illinois. Justin Allgaier, a regular in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, so close to winning championships, just never seemed to accomplish that. But he's also been very close to winning the Chili Bowl himself. Unfortunately, that has never happened. That this could be the year for Justin Allgaier. How about David Gravel from Watertown, Connecticut? Brad Sweet. Brad Sweet is another driver that I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up winning the race. He has never won the Chili Bowl Nationals, but the World of Outlaws champion might have some other plans here. JJ Yeley. Carson Kvapil, son of Travis Kvapil, 2003 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion. About some other names like Chase Briscoe, perhaps the class of the field in Xfinity last year, making his NASCAR Cup Series rookie attempt in 2021 for Stewart-Haas Racing. Chase Briscoe is a very successful dirt track driver. He is versatile, to say the least. Can run on the road courses in the rain flawlessly. Chase Briscoe winning the Chili Bowl would add another accolade to a still young career for a driver that I think might end up in Formula One with those skills. How about let's highlight another name. Tanner Thorson. Recovered from an injury sustained in a traffic accident not too long ago. And is ready to race again. Tanner Thorson ran a handful of NASCAR Truck Series races a couple years ago. Wasn't his niche. He left, returned to dirt racing, and Tanner Thorson making the AMA would be a surprise to nobody. But he has to do the task, and everyone alike need to play the game right and end up with a chance to win the Chili Bowl Nationals. Danny, welcome back.
Okay.
Yes, I was just highlighting the drivers that could be factors in the Chili Bowl Nationals this year. And I'm not even 15% through.
Really? Because I was away for a minute, so I want to ask you, which driver would you think will be a winning factor for the Chili Bowl, other than someone who has already won it?
That's a tall order. There are plenty of drivers that I think could win the Chili Bowl Nationals, but here's one. I mentioned him just a few minutes ago, and that is Chase Briscoe.
Ooh, Chase Briscoe, huh? You know, is this his first time running the Chili Bowl?
No, he's run it before.
Oh, okay. So, you know, Chase Briscoe is one that has not been talked about lately when it comes to the Chili Bowl Racing Nationals at all. But is he one to look for? Absolutely.
Let's highlight another driver. I mentioned him just a few minutes ago. That, of course, was Ryan Newman from South Bend, Indiana. One of the best drivers from USAC in his time. NASCAR veteran. A win in the Chili Bowl would be very special. What about this name? Santino Ferrucci. An open wheel driver.
Oh, man.
He's making the transition to stock car racing this year.
Dude, you know, that would be a very good name that you put out there, Santino Ferrucci. You know, him coming from transitioning from open wheel to stock car racing, it will be very interesting to see. So he is also someone that you might want to look out for as far as him making his first debut in dirt racing.
I think he ran it last year. I don't know if he made the A main. And here's another driver from Umatilla, Washington, who has never won the Chili Bowl Nationals, but is perhaps one of the greatest drivers on dirt, especially in the midget ranks.
Casey Kane.
Casey Kane.
Dude, when we come to talk about dirt racing, Casey Kane's name is automatically up there, alongside with Thorson and the rest of the guys. But Casey Kane now, he is the most underrated driver when it comes to stock car racing, but his name is up there when it comes to dirt racing. So, will he be a threat to the rest of the field in this year's Chili Bowl Nationals? Maybe.
He is a USAC champion in 2000. I mean, that says a lot. We're 21 years later, and he's in the home playground of dirt racing. That's a driver I would put my money down for. And I'll give you one last name here. Actually, one or two names. Someone who has not won the Chili Bowl Nationals. I'm going to give you this driver right here. Let's highlight Tanner Berryhill.
Ooh, Tyler Berryhill.
Tanner. Yes.
Okay.
I know from his time in NASCAR wasn't as successful, but there's potential in Tanner Berryhill. I wouldn't be surprised if he made it up to the A main in the feature itself. So with that said, your 2021 Chili Bowl Nationals champion is...
Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson back-to-back. Now, that doesn't sound unrealistic to me whatsoever, but my pick to win the Chili Bowl Nationals for the fourth time in 5 years, Christopher Bell. It will be a Larson-Bell duel.
Oh, man.
One that we have seen before on asphalt and on dirt. The fans in Tulsa will get their money's worth this weekend. But that is just the end result. You need to make it to the A main. You need to qualify. You have to be 110% to make the big show. Not everyone will be lucky. Some of the best may not even climb half the ladder. With that out of the way, I think it's time to talk some sports cars and preview the first major sports car race of the 2021 calendar year. Held in the Dubai Autodrome in the UAE. It's the 2021 Dubai 24 Hours. It's the 16th running of this 24-hour race that is held for sports cars and touring cars This year, 55 cars will be in the race overall. Before we look at the entry list, let's look back at some of the past history of this race. Last year, it was Black Falcon for a record 5th time by the team itself, delivering Mercedes their 5th win as a manufacturer in the Dubai 24 Hours, tying Porsche on the all-time record of 5 wins last year in a race that didn't even feel like a 24-hour race. After 7 hours and 18 minutes, heavy rain flooded the racetrack, giving the win to Black Falcon for the 5th time in team history. Drivers Khaled Al-Kubasi, Ben Barker, Jerome Bleekemolen, Hubert Haupten, Manuel Metzger won the race. 168 laps were completed, unfortunately, but then again, it was 2020.
Right.
This year, hopefully, we'll have better luck this time around. Most likely, we will. But there are 55 cars overall. Before we look at the factors of this race, let's look at the history of the event itself. The very first race, the first 2 races of the year were won by Dueler Motorsport, an Austrian team that provided BMW equipment. The first race was won by an all-star class of drivers. Philip Peter, Grand Prix races, Dieter Kester, and Hans Joachim Stuck, and Toto Wolff. Yes, Toto Wolff, the principal for Mercedes AMG F1, the powerhouse of Formula One. That was the winning pair for the very first Dubai 24 Hours held in 2006. They drove a BMW M3 CSL and completed 519 laps. 3 times have a driver won more than twice, and on the all-time winning record is indeed the 3 drivers that were part of the winning team last year: Jerome Bleekemolen, Khaled Al-Kubasi, and Hubert Haupt. As I mentioned, only 2 teams won more than once in the Dubai 24 Hour, Black Falcon 5 times and 3 times Dueler Motorsport. Manufacturer wins is a tie on the all-time wins list between Porsche and Mercedes. Like I mentioned with Black Falcon 5 for 5 for the Mercedes wins. BMW 3 victories, including the first 2 in 2011. Could they end a 10-year dry spell like they did with the Nürburgring 24 Hours last year? Maybe, we'll see. And Audi, 2 wins, 2016 and 2019. This race is usually a playground for teams and professionals and amateur drivers, semi-professional drivers who are interested in making a name for themselves as a sports car driver. It's a proving ground for many.
Oh, yeah, it is a proving ground for many. So what other names would you see that will be debuting in the Dubai 24 Hours?
Debut or winning? Who do you think might win this race? That's another.
I would say winning.
Yeah. One more thing before we get into predictions. This is the first of 8 rounds in the 2021 24-hour series, the 24H series for GT and TCE series. 8 rounds this season, and it begins in Dubai. But who do I think will win this race? Well, we have to look at the classes here. In each class, there are 2 divisions separated by classes within their own. Divisions include GT cars that are close to the counterparts of GT Grand Touring Racing. 36 of them total will be considered GT cars in that division. And in the TCE division are cars very close to their likenesses of touring car racing. Touring car racing very much based off the production car itself.
Yeah.
There are 19 of them this year. The overall winning class will likely come from the GT3 Pro category. 8 of them will race this year. This class will include the factory back drivers, and I think it's tough to make a prediction. But making predictions, it's like your hero zero. You know, there's a less likely chance your prediction will succeed.
Yeah.
In an endurance race like this, but nonetheless, I assume that the overall winner will be part of the 8-car GT3 Pro class for pro drivers. Now there are 9 cars with in the GT3 that are GT3s, but in the GT3 AM class, potentially one of those cars could race for the overall win. It's unlikely, but it is possible. There's one car in that class that I'm in love with, and I'll explain that later. But let's start with the GT3 Pro class. You have 8 cars. Mercedes-AMG HRT Bilstein, the team that used to be called Black Falcon, might sound like the favorite on paper, but they have competition, do they?
Oh, absolutely, they have competition this year. But who would that go?
I'm looking right at the Audi, number 31, Belgian Audi Club Team WRT. It seems like those guys might be the threat that separates Mercedes from becoming a 6-time winning manufacturer in this event. Look at the drivers: Benjamin Goff, Frank Burt, Louis Mekiel. Yeah, not as relevant and prevalent in major sports car racing, but how about Kelvin van der Linde and Dries Vanthoor, the Audi factory drivers that bring a lot to the table in this race? But what about Porsche? Porsche could break the record and regain honors for winningest manufacturer in history of the Dubai 24 Hours. Again, I'm looking right at GPX Racing. That number 36 car has factory drivers including Julian Anlander, Frederick Fatien, Alan Fert, Matthew Jaminet, and Axel Jeffries. GPX Racing is a very successful team, and guess what? They're based in the UAE. That would be a popular win, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Their hometown is the UAE. So when I see them winning and pulling off a great win here in their home country, I think they could pull it off. What do you think, Joseph?
They'll have to do the work, and that's all it takes in the end. You have to be there in 24 hours. What you do in the first 6 hours means nothing in the latter 18 hours of the race. So there are 8 cars. We'll make a prediction for the GT3 Pro class. Danny, who do you have winning that?
Who do I have in the GT? What did you say it was? A GT?
The GT3 Pro.
Oh, GT3 Pro. Gosh. You know what? I'm going to go with the Mercedes team.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they win again. Make it 6.
Yeah. But you know, what was that team I was talking about that's based in the UAE?
GPX Racing.
GPX Racing. You know what? Don't cut them out either. I would love to pick GPX Racing to win at their home country in the Dubai 24 Hours. But they will have to do the work.
Oh, for sure. My pick, though, GPX Racing sounds really favorable on paper. I don't think that will be the case this year, because there is one team that I think might surprise, and I wouldn't be surprised if they surprise at all. This might be a little crazy here, but I'm going to go with the number 63 GRT Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo, driven by Adrian Amschutz, Rick Bruckers, Rolf Eichen and Mirko Bortolotti. Yes, Mirko Bortolotti, who took a year off Lamborghini, drove 2020 as an Audi factory driver. It didn't work out for him. And the two-time Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona winner will return to Lamborghini with a bang. And lastly, I know it's a dumb question, but will the GT3 Pro class winner win the race overall?
Truth be told, I honestly don't know. I really don't know. That question is like up in the air right now. So we will have to see.
I feel like this might be a rare race, especially in these times, that two different classes are going to be fighting against one another for overall honors. We haven't seen that too much lately. I know I'm romanticizing over the old American Le Mans Series days, but seriously, that would be cool. But it's a rarity. I would obviously say yes to that question. I can't speak today. Yes to that question. The GT3 Pro class winner will win the race overall. Now, the GT3 AM class does have a larger variety of cars in this category, including one that I will have to be biased and pick for this one. So my prediction to win this race, you know who I have?
Who?
While I would love to predict, CP Racing, because they have gentlemen drivers who have raced, into their 50s and come from levels like the Rolex Sports Car Series, drivers like Shane Lewis and Joe Foster, Charles Putman, Charles Espinal. I have massive respect for those drivers that they stick it out. But as a guy who loves cars, Team Zaxby, the Dodge SRT Viper GTPR lives. And if they win that class, I would be really happy.
Wow, man. Honestly, guys, you really can't forget about that team. You really can't, man. Especially if they still have that Viper, I think that makes them a favorite. I think it makes them a favorite. If you're a car enthusiast and you're watching this race, that team we were talking about, Joseph,
Team Zaxby,
I think they will also be a favorite today. No, not today. During the race.
Yeah, the race will be on Friday. It begins 6:00 a.m. Eastern time on Friday, which is 1500 local time. Should be a blast. The Team Zaxby, of course, they're a customer team. They don't have factory support by Dodge Viper. But one thing I really like about Zaxby is that they are dedicated. They've stuck around since 1968 and scored only 2 points in Formula One when Martin Brundle finished 5th in the 1987 San Marino Grand Prix. Fun facts. But yeah, the drivers for Team Zaxby include a trio, a quartet, a trio of Russians and a duo of Germans: Evgeny Kiev, Manuel Lauk, Henrik Still, Viktor Scheitler, and Sergei Stotsilayev. There, I said the name right. I apologize. I want to see them win, but if they don't win, I'll be pulling for CP Racing just as much.
Yeah.
Will we see one of those front runners in the GT3 AM class potentially finish on the podium overall? I say yes. Don't be surprised if they do.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Don't be surprised about that.
The GTX class is a more customer revolving category for GT racing enthusiasts, which include 4 cars this year. We have 4 teams, 3 of the same manufacturer, 4 different countries, and loads of amateur drivers who could make a name for themselves. What about the Vortex V8, the Vortex 1.0 GTX car that will be running in the race. And I have to do some Googling myself to look at the Vortex car, but it is a customer-built machine. They'll have to compete against Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeos to make that
factory team.
Yes, ARC Bratislava might be the favorite in this category. They have a 2017 version of the Super Trofeo. Could the Slovakia team win this category? I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm going to go with this team instead. Lippert Motorsport, the number 710 Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo Edition, driven by 3 Americans, a German, and a Swiss driver, Greg Gorski, Oscar Lee, Gerhard Watzinger, Fido Lieb, and Kurt Thiel. They're your winning drivers.
That's awesome, man.
Hopefully they'll be competitive. Usually classes with a handful of entries finish laps apart, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will see.
And lastly, the one make class in the Dubai 24 Hours did win an overall race last year, but remember, in the 24H series, there are many teams that could not run the full season for understandable reasons with the COVID-19 pandemic. So we saw a 991 class car win overall in the 16 Hours of Hockenheimring last year. Now, it's very unlikely that it will happen again, but I think a one-make class with 9 entries will provide some really interesting racing. The action will be there for sure. Now, who will win? Yes, I don't know, but I will tell you this team will win, and that will be the number 989 MRS GT Racing Porsche 991 GT3 Cup 2, driven by Self Alamari, Jeroen Bleekemolen, who is also part of the winningest driver of the Dubai 24 Hours with 3 wins. He probably won't extend that record this year with that car. Jukka Hankavuri from Finland, and Tim Pappas, a longtime driver who is 47 years old, has ran many races in the American Le Mans Series in his old time, finished 4th in class and 29th overall for Proton competition in the Le Mans 24 Hours 3 years ago. They might be the best of the Porsche 991 Cup this year. What do you think?
Truth be told, I would say the same. So we will have to see what happens, and we'll have to happen from there.
Yeah. And lastly, the GT4 class, the last class in the GT division, will feature 6 entries this year. One entry that doesn't have everybody confirmed just yet, but the rest of them are there. We have 2 Mercedes AMGs from 2 different teams. We have 2 BMWs from the same team and another from a different team, and an Aston Martin Vantage. This class might be a little more competitive than what people think. Just by looking at the drivers involved, we might have cars finishing on the lead lap respectively in this category this weekend. But who do I have winning this race? In that category, I'm going to go with this team owned by a owner driver from Canada, Samantha Tan herself. ST Racing, the BMW number 438 M4 GT4 will win this category. I've seen her race at GT4 America and other divisions. Co-drivers John Miller, Chandler Hull, Nick Whitmer will bring that car to class victory.
Oh man, Samantha Tan Racing and the BMW M4. Oh my God! You know what? I'll have to pick the same. I'll have to go with that same pick as well. I see them winning in that class.
Absolutely, but don't look away from Dragon Racing. I think the lineup: Dennis Ramignacco, Adam Christodoulou, Ollie Hancock, John Hartshorn for Mercedes. They might be a factor. Look out for car 488 this weekend. So now that we covered the GTs, there are touring cars. We have the TCE category, 19 touring cars in the race, comprised of two classes. The main TCE class, of course, is the TCR category. 14 entries for this race. We still have pending drivers, but for the majority, the entries are there. Last year, it seemed like the Autorama Motorsport by Wolf Power Racing Volkswagen Golf GTIs were class of the TCEs last year. So with that said, I would have to pick. I'm going to go with the number 114. Reto Bartman, Miklas Born, Reese Lloyd, Gustavo Xavier, and Marcus Menden will drive that car to division and class victory.
No, that's a great pick.
Sure are. I mean, it's hard to make these predictions, especially when most of the drivers are amateur level, and I haven't really seen them race before. But if I could find someone that might be, a competitive threat to the Wolf Power Racing Autodrama Volkswagens, there's 3 of them in this race. I think they all finish on the podium. But look at the Cupras, the Cupra Leons, those cars, especially the entry from the Red Camel Jordan's NL entry, the Dutch car number 101 with Ebro Brugers, Stephen Licorice, Henry Leitig, and William Myhier. Number 101 will possibly finish number 1 in class. But then again, it's 24 hours. You have to be there towards the end. No mistakes. And cars will have to be put to the test too. Think about the cars here. How about mechanics here? Your test. This is your biggest test. 24
Absolutely. Hours. Yeah, man. 24 hours, no parts breaking, or your day is pretty much it.
I've never raced as a co-driver, not even in sim racing. That's something I want to do one day if I ever try iRacing. But you can almost read the frustration from watching a co-driver leave the garage after a crash early in the race, and that co-driver never even stepping in the car at all, finishing last. And it's happened everywhere in endurance racing. It's the reality. 24 hours, 1 winner, 1 race. Bunch of classes. There's a lot at stake here, but there's one more class. We'll look at the racetrack and everything else in just a moment, and that includes the TCX class. 5 cars will compete for the TCX class. 4 teams, 1 team that has 2 cars from 4 different countries, and 2 different types of cars. We'll look at CWS Engineering, and I think that team might be the one to pick. If you're making predictions for the 24 Hours of Dubai in the TCX class, the customer-based touring car category might go to CWS Engineering as they field 2 Ginetta G55 Super Cups in this race. We have John Brunot, Adam Hayes, Colin White in car number 278, and Colin White, a 64-year-old driver from Glattensbury, Somerset, who in fact was part of the ASCAR series, a former European stock car division. He won the 2007 stock car championship and is a really good driver in Ginettas, even into his 60s. He won the 2015 and 2016, as well as the 2017 Ginetta GT4 Super Cup AM class. So I think it will be car 278. We'll have to see. And that's it. Those are your entries for the upcoming 24 Hours of Dubai for 2021. We have an abundance of drivers and teams, many that weren't able to travel to many events last year, that had to sit out for 2020, lay off employees, and just experience the harsh realities of the COVID-19 pandemic. They deserve credit for being here. Even the teams that aren't on the professional level, they deserve props for showing up to this race. And for some drivers, we'll see a preview of how they will perform in the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. There's no official entry list out just yet, but expect that to be revealed in a week from now. All right, I think that's enough for sports car racing. Let's preview some of the other, or not preview, let's discuss some of the other things that have happened in motorsport within this past week. We learned that Glickenhaus, speaking of sports car racing, Glickenhaus, an American-based team, Scuderia Cameron Glickenhaus, will work with Sauber and Jost Racing for an LMH car. The Le Mans Hypercar will feature two powerhouse teams in collaboration with a new team in world sports car racing's highest level, of course, Glickenhaus. How cool is that? It's like being walked onto the red carpet.
Oh man,
superstars on each side.
You really think about it, that's pretty much awesome, man. Like, there's no other way to put it.
Absolutely. More details on that to come, especially since the World Endurance Championship might feature different dates and race times as this year, of course, like many other sporting events, are still going to experience the struggles of the COVID-19 pandemic. The FIAWC did what they could last year, and they do deserve credit. On that note, let's see what else we have for sports car racing. WeatherTech Racing. So if you were a fan of the Porsche GT team racing in IMSA last year, which of course the Porsche GT team ceased their North American program after last year due to financial loss from the COVID-19 pandemic, look no further. You will see a Porsche in GTLM again thanks to WeatherTech Racing. The Porsche 911 RSR GTE will race in the GTLM class this year. We might see some factory drivers that might have, might have to drive for the GTD class in a GT3 car, or have to race elsewhere, get an extra opportunity for the 2021 IMSA season. Those drivers that are confirmed for WeatherTech Racing include Cooper McNeil, who is actually a relation to David McNeil, he's the son of WeatherTech owner, David McNeil, so he's on the team. Then you have the Porsche factory drivers. How about this? Jimmy Bruni, Kevin Estre, Richard Leeds. These are star drivers here. They could win the 24 Hours of Daytona, and I wouldn't be shocked.
Oh, man. You know what? I would say the same thing. I would say the same thing, man. Truth be told, man, I wouldn't be shocked either if they won that race.
Right. I wouldn't be shocked either. But let's see how they run it at the full season, whether they compete for just this race or, the Crown Jewel events, the Michelin Endurance Cup, or the full season. Only time will tell. And other news, High Class Racing will compete for the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona this year, and they confirmed their LMP2 lineup they'll with a Oreca 07 car with drivers Dennis Anderson, Anders Fjordback, two Danish drivers, and we have a driver from Austria, Ferdinand von Hatzberg, and the one and only Robert Kubica. How about Robert Kubica? With his career still alive, a driver known best for his time in Formula One, winning the 2008 Canadian Grand Prix as his only Grand Prix victory, recovering from a near-fatal rally accident in 2011, and making a comeback to Formula One in 2019 when the Polish driver ended a long hiatus in Grand Prix racing. Now he makes his debut in the Rolex 24 Daytona in a very competitive LMP2 class this year. Speaking of LMP2 class racing, over in yes, LMP2 class will feature Win Autosport, which includes an experienced lineup: Matthew Bell, Thomas Merrill, Tristan Nunez, and Stephen Thomas. But Jota Sport will also feature a new driver lineup for the 2021 Asian Le Mans Series and, the World Endurance Championship. So be on the lookout for that. Jota Sport, a very competitive LMP2 team with new strides this upcoming season. With that out of the way, I do want to take the time to send condolences out to the family of Antonio Sabato from the movie Grand Prix 1966. He died at the age of 77 from COVID-19 complications. Antonio Sabato Sr. was a very successful Italian actor who in Grand Prix 1966 was part of one of the best racing movies of all time. It's just hard to explain, how inspired, a racing fan would be to just watch Grand Prix 1966 for the first time and say, wow, someone put this together. Just have no words. And it's very sad that the actor who played Nino Barlini passed away at the age of 77.
Right.
Also, I do want to send condolences out to the family of Patrick, the owner of Patrick Racing. Died at the age of 91 last week. Patrick Racing was a very popular IndyCar team. They won 45 times from racing in 1973 all the way until 2004. They were there, prevalent in the world of IndyCar racing, especially that famous STP car. Mostly remembered for Gordon Johncock driving that to a championship in 1976, as well as 2 Indy 500 wins. Gordon Johncock, 1973 and 1982, as well as Emerson Fittipaldi, who won the Indy 500 and the IndyCar championship in 1989. Speaking of IndyCar, Zach Veach will go from IndyCars to sports cars in 2021. Zach Veach will drive for the Vassar Sullivan Lexus RCF GT3 in the GT Daytona class for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship this upcoming year. Last season, he was released from Andretti Autosport in the IndyCar Series. Speaking of series departures, Lee Holdsworth, after 15 years in supercars, has left the series. He will go on to race in TCR Australia. Lee Holdsworth who is 37 years old from Melbourne, won 3 times in 470 starts in the Repco Supercars Championship. A driver who had a solid career and a best finish of 3rd in the 2009 Bathurst 1000 when he drove with Michael Caruso for Gary Rogers Motorsport to a podium finish. Back to IndyCar with some other news. The St. Petersburg Grand Prix that was scheduled to open the season has been postponed. The St. Petersburg Grand Prix that was supposed to start in I think it was mid-March this year was moved as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the city council said no, so they changed the schedule to April 25th, leaving Barber Motorsports Park as the opening race of the 2021 season. Now, Barber lost a date last year because of the pandemic, a race that was supposed to happen on the 5th of April. As of this podcast, there are still 17 IndyCar races on the calendar, from Barber to St. Pete to, of course, the traditional Indy 500 date of May 30th. There are 3 ovals and 4 races. The rest are road and street courses. Texas is a doubleheader. The Texas doubleheader was last held as a doubleheader race in 2011 when Daria Franchitti and Will Power won respectively on their own races on June 11th, 10 years ago. In fact, Texas Motor Speedway was the first race for IndyCar since the world was put on hold. On June 6th, Eddie Gossage gave the yes answer to IndyCar officials, and they returned to action on June 6th last year. Very interesting, but, it's cool to have a change for the tracks that are available in 2021. We will see, or we're supposedly going to see, the return of Belle Isle for the Detroit Grand Prix, held on June 12th and 13th, which is on the same date as the 24 Hours of Le Mans. We might see drivers skip this event or stay. We'll see what they do. There's always an opportunity for the date to change, especially for Belle Isle being a street circuit. That event was canceled last year. And if they plan to run IMSA, of course, then I wouldn't be surprised if the date changes if that race is held in 2021. The Indianapolis Grand Prix will have 2 dates on May 15th, preceding the Indy 500, and on the 14th of August, sharing the same weekend as the Brickyard race at the Grand Prix circuit for the NASCAR Cup Series, an IndyCar NASCAR doubleheader. That will be on the 14th of August. So, there are your dates for the Indy Road Course. Road America will be on June 20th. Most likely that race will be held, especially since there were fans at the track last year. There were fans. In fact, that was the first race for IndyCar that featured fans in the grandstands and campgrounds all around Road America. The track itself is just a popular place to be. Mid-Ohio had a doubleheader last year that was a result of the COVID-19 pandemic after a sudden postponement. They will be scheduled on July 4th, Independence Day, Mid-Ohio. How about that? Followed by the Toronto Grand Prix at Exhibition Place. Now, that might be a difficult race to happen, especially since we're talking about a street course and how travel from US to Canada has been very difficult during the pandemic. So the Toronto Grand Prix, while it's scheduled for July 11th, there's one thing you can't slow down, and that is time.
Yeah, man. I really hope to see the Toronto Grand Prix back up and running again. It's been a while since we've seen it.
Yeah, I know that's always a highlight race for the street courses for IndyCar. Honda Indy Toronto. They've only been postponed twice. That was 2008 because of the reunification, and last year. And just to see that hotspot go away, it was kind of sad. And of course, the other race being the Long Beach Grand Prix, which has been moved from April directly to the very last race of the year on September 26th.
Oh, man.
So after Indy Toronto, we have the Music City Grand Prix at the Nashville Street Circuit. It's an inaugural event held on a street course in Nashville, Tennessee. That's going to be an exciting race. No question. Followed by the Brickyard Grand Prix, which will be in sync with the NASCAR Cup Series, a NASCAR IndyCar doubleheader for 2021 on the 14th of August. Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway will be the fourth and final oval race of the year, the third and final oval track on the 21st of August, the Bommarito Auto Group 500K. Portland Grand Prix on September 12th. Portland International Raceway. That race was actually called off last year. The Grand Prix of Monterey, Laguna Seca, was called off last year as well. Hopefully we'll get racing back, whether there's fans or no fans. I'd love to see racing at Laguna Seca. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
And of course, the Long Beach Grand Prix at the end of the season on September 26th. Hopefully, that's the last curveball we get thrown with that race.
Hope so. I really hope so.
All in all, 17 races. From the time of this video, beginning on the 11th of April and finishing on the 26th of September. Which I said at the time of this video because that really means that changes are not going to be surprising when they happen, but only time will tell.
Yeah.
All right. And lastly, we wish Lando Norris and Gian Rivera and Formula 2 driver, and Lando Norris, of course, the McLaren Formula 1 driver. Those two young racers have COVID-19. They tested positive, so hopefully they have a speedy recovery and get well to them.
Yeah.
We covered everything. Time to talk NASCAR. We're getting a little NASCAR here. I know we're running out of time, but NY Racing will compete and attempt the entire 36-race NASCAR Cup Series schedule. The team owned by John Cohen has made a handful of races in the past, usually resulting in DNQs, but they are there this year. Hopefully, we'll see them run the full schedule. Now, the driver for the Daytona 500 is actually Johnny Sawyer. That's what the rumors say, but we have not heard an official statement by the team just yet. Johnny Sauter is the winningest driver in the NASCAR Truck Series Daytona 250 race, when in 2018 he won for the third time, record-breaking win.
Yeah,
for
man.
Johnny Sauter. Speaking of the Great American Race, we have another team that confirmed their drivers for the 2021 race, a Great American Race, and for the NASCAR season. We'll start off with David Reagan. David Reagan, who on February of 2011, nearly 10 years ago, lost the Daytona 500 after getting a black flag displayed to him when his Roush Fenway Racing Ford jumped the restart in the waning laps of the race.
Oh, man.
Reagan finished in the top 5 last year, and he will attempt the 2021 Daytona 500 once again, seeking that coveted win. But as part of the Front Row Motorsports full-time lineup is concerned, rookie driver Anthony Alfredo will join veteran Michael McDowell for the Cup Series lineup in 2021. In the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, we have Todd Gilliland, the third-generation driver, will return to Front Row Motorsports in the Truck Series this upcoming season. They're a force to be reckoned with, whether they're racing in the top 20, top 15, or not even in the top 10. They're always a strong program.
Truth be told, I agree with you. I really do agree with you. Those guys are not to be overlooked.
No, and especially with those restricted plate races.
Oh, absolutely.
See what else we have here from NASCAR. Well, we're less than a month till NASCAR. That's going to be fun.
Oh,
going to be
man.
awesome. I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to actually going to a race this year. Maybe Pocono. Let's just keep our fingers crossed. So, yeah, man. Let's just only time will tell. We just have to be patient.
Yes. And Santino Ferrucci, as we mentioned earlier in the podcast, who will be part of the Chili Bowl this week, former Formula 2 driver and IndyCar driver, will transition to stock cars. In the NASCAR Xfinity Series, Santino Ferrucci will receive Toyota factory support when he drives for Sam Hunt Racing on a part-time basis for the 2021 season. We'll see how the American driver transitions into America's most watched motorsport. See another news here. Speaking of the NASCAR Xfinity Series, it was announced earlier today that RSS Racing, the team owned by Ryan Sieg, that have ran Chevrolets for Ryan Sieg's entirety of his team's career as an owner, and for the late Shane Sieg, when he operated the team first and foremost, they stuck towards Chevrolets until this year. They will go to Ford. We might see Ford factory support from them now. Ford has been lacking in the NASCAR Xfinity Series despite winning most of the races and having a championship. It was only done by 2 drivers.
Yeah, man.
So add Ryan Sieg to the picture of Ford drivers. There's another rumor in the truck series going around, speaking of manufacturers, that ThorSport might switch back to Toyota. I don't think it's true, but if it's true, then it's true.
Yeah.
And in the NASCAR Truck Series, competition will be prevalent. There's an abundance of competition. Just teams, drivers, even part-time drivers. The Cup Series stars that run like 3-4 races a year. I mean, Kyle Busch. Everyone wants a slice of the NASCAR Truck Series cake this season, and it will show. there is unfortunately something else I do want to mention, and that involved a stream on a racing simulator. Yes, iRacing. The driver subject of this controversy is Hayley Deegan. Last night, Hayley Deegan used a word that is pretty ableist. I don't think we need to
to discuss.
Yeah, it starts with R and ends with D, and a lot of people, use it loosely. Her apology stated on Twitter seemed genuine. Now, we know Hayley Deegan is not far from controversy. We haven't seen, her far away from the pond of controversy like other drivers.
Yeah.
Despite, her comments on the pandemic and other situations. But I think what happened last night wasn't really much of Hayley Deegan did something wrong again. No, that wasn't a problem. Yeah. It's more like a problem that too many people make. Everyone says that word. Oh, he's such a R word, and it's used loosely like bread and butter. But here's the thing: not everybody responds to that word, that saying the right way. And I'm gonna be honest with you. When I grew up in elementary school, that word was used to target me. And it's sad that there's some people who don't experience that. And so next time, you have that word in your vocabulary, I just want you to think. Put yourself in my shoes, like 13 years ago, in a third grade classroom with the world against you. Because, your poor social skills, you have no friends, you're just sitting there waiting to go home, you got nothing better to do, you're calling out, and then a teacher tells you, stop it, you R word. And it's just like, a teacher says it? And then the kids pick up on that. Of course, now it spirals to me. And I wish that on nobody.
Yeah.
And I wish more people can understand why others don't take it so well. I don't want to see a driver's career end over a live stream. We've been there before. Almost a year ago, we were just talking about Kyle Larson, how he's about to defend his Chili Bowl Nationals title. But between last year and this year, his career and reputation has been altered by an iRacing live stream. And we can understand why he took the strides that were so important for Larson not to be in that position again.
Yeah.
This is not a matter of, who's worse than who when they did their bad thing. It doesn't matter. This is a learning opportunity. I hope for a driver like Hayley Deegan. I'm not here to shame her. Yeah. I wish her the best. She's an important figure for the future of NASCAR motorsport. Even if she goes race somewhere else, has a better career in off-road racing like her father, she's a major figure for women in NASCAR. Let's not forget that we have not seen a female driver in stock car racing succeed on that level as Hayley Deegan did in years. We're talking Shauna Robinson stats, like up in the running and towards the front, a factor week in and week out. And I just want the best for her.
Yeah, we all do, man. We're not here to shame. We're not the type of people to shame anybody. If you make a mistake, it's up to you to learn from that mistake to make it not happen again. And that's about it.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but the situation with Hayley Deegan on the live stream, it's another reminder. If you're going on a live stream and you're a professional driver, be careful.
Yeah.
But that's not a matter of protecting yourself. It's a matter of just doing what's right versus what's wrong, and learning from what happened almost a week ago in DC. And this is not to be political, but it just shows the bruises, the scars of the current times
we're living in right now. Yeah.
I think this is a good ending point for the podcast. But, sports, for many people, is an escape.
Yeah.
It's an escape from the harsh realities of life, whether they happened in May, in June, July, or November, or last week. We all watch motorsports for the same reason, because we love it. We love NASCAR. We love racing. We love F1. We love everything about it. We race as one. You guys understand why sports is so important, because it brings us together.
Yeah. It brings us all together, no matter where you're from, no matter who you look like, If you are into the same thing as everyone else around you come together no matter what differences you have. And
we
that's the best
celebrate those
part about it.
differences. Absolutely. So, enjoy the football game tonight. And, let's give our predictions out. Who's going to win the College Football National Championship? Will we see the Alabama Crimson Tide, or how about the Sooners?
You know what? I would love to, as much I hate to say this, I would love to go with, I would have to say Roll Tide, man. Alabama's probably going to get it again.
I meant the Buckeyes, not the Sooners. No. I'm thinking about Oklahoma because of Chili Bowls this week. I'm the Buckeyes. I knew, like, no. I don't follow college football, but I enjoy this time of the year.
Yeah.
I might be a bandwagon. I really go for the Crimson Tide, but if the Buckeyes win just by sheer luck, then so be it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going with the Crimson Tide. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
So enjoy all the action from the Chili Bowl. Enjoy the 24 hours of Dubai, and enjoy the game tonight. And we'll be back for episode 94 of the Bull of the Yellow Line podcast. We apologize. We don't normally go live during the afternoon, but hey, we wanted to get this podcast out of the way so everyone can have a nice time watching football tonight. And we'll be back. Thank you.
Yeah.
For Danny Aguirre 48, follow his YouTube channel. I'm Joe. Signing off. Have a good night.
Yeah, guys.